Okay,
Okay.
there you go. Okay,
Now we're live.
now we started.
All right, cool.
Hi guys, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, same here.
I haven't
Actually,
seen
that's true. That's
Actually,
very
I
true, though.
you in a while. Yeah, I
I
haven't
miss
seen you guys.
I miss you guys.
It's
This
been
is what quarantine does to people.
How you guys
How-
been this
How
week?
has quarantine been, guys?
It's been
looks very weird. Looks very disingenuous.
What do you mean?
Yeah, stop with the smile.
What do you mean?
Oh man, this is what Walgreens taught me. Smile.
Oh God.
Is that your ECC?
Welcome, guys. Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to Walgreens. I mean, Shabbat Shalom.
So besides that horrifying view, the week has been pretty good. Quarantine has been it's been quarantine. It's whatever.
I've been in the East Coast most of the time, like at different stores, and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we've all been in the East Coast.
like, literally by the East Coast. Like today, I
Gotcha.
was by like a mile by the beach.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Yeah, it's like
Oh yeah, true. You're like in all the way in Tampa.
yeah. This week they put us far away. Like I drove 100 miles away from my house.
You're surfing?
You drove that today?
Yeah. Cool thing though is that they pay you for the drive,
Oh,
like in cash,
Okay.
cash money.
Okay, that's cool.
It's pretty cool.
very nice.
If it
Like,
wasn't for that,
like a payout?
yeah, like a payout. So they pay you the drive,
That's pretty good.
and because the drive time was way too high, and they didn't want us to go into overtime, we get to leave earlier.
Oh, cool.
So we left like at 1:30 instead of 4:30. It was pretty cool.
Oh,
Hey, 3 hours.
Pretty good, man. And we still get paid up to 4:30.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah, that's good money right there. I
Hey,
could have gone into this freaking.
that's what it is.
Basically, yeah.
That's
And
pretty fun.
that's Walgreens' fault because they misplanned it.
I don't. We're
Can
gonna
we
have
say the company name? I don't think so.
This-
Oh,
We're gonna get monetized.
I don't think we're gonna get exposure. So I think
I
we're
don't
fine.
think. I don't think Walgreens is gonna come after us and sue us.
copyrights because
We're gonna copyright stricken on a video that's not even monetized.
Be like, this
why?
very unpopular cast. I'm gonna demonetize it.
I'm gonna demonetize the first episode of this cast. Speaking of the Builders podcast, hi everybody. I'm Rico.
Jonathan.
Hey.
Alex.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm Tito.
And I'm Daniel.
Nice and laggy. I'm loving it. Great start.
Well, I mean, we talked about our week. You guys, talk about your week.
Who's next?
Well, my week's pretty fine. Even though technically I'm quarantined, I still am considered essential. So I get pretty busy with work, and when I just come home, I
Thank you
just
for your service.
do what I usually. I try, guys. Thank you. Thank you. It's hard.
What is it that you work on again?
It's weird.
He's
Huh?
building a building.
What are you working on? again?
Oh, I'm working in downtown Orlando as an electrician. Then there's a complex they're building right now, about halfway through, and a deck where there's the sun and there's no shade, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, but what are you building though?
It's
You're building
it's like,
or a hospital or what?
it's like an apartment complex / like a retail area.
Okay.
So I'm assuming like the first couple of floors are gonna have like stores and like Starbucks and stuff like that, and above it they're gonna build like the apartments or whatever.
Okay, so you're
How funny would it be if they gave him the plans but backwards, so he wired it so it's like livable on the floor?
yeah, the Starbucks is on the top floor.
Up there.
No bathrooms.
No, but-
But that's got to be hot though, because you got like the sun.
Dude, it gets pretty hot, and I used to wear a face mask when this whole Corona thing started, and try to keep myself from. But it's just the humidity plus my sweat plus the
Gotta work.
breathing hard. And I wear long sleeves on top of that, so I just either it's heat exhaustion or just risk it.
That's not that close when you do construction anyway. Like so.
Sometimes you have to be like super close.
Yeah.
But you're in the sun, so like, didn't that like the latest study said that like with the sun, like it takes like 3 minutes or something for like the virus to like get like destroyed.
Right. So it's. I mean, we follow guidelines 6 feet apart and stuff like that, but there's rebar guys, there's us, there's the plumbers. So there's a whole crew of people up there that it's not gonna happen all the time.
Do you guys mess with the other groups? Do the electricians mess with the plumbers mess with the rebar guys, the rebar guys
I
mess
hope
with,
nobody messes with people like the plumbers mess with the electricians.
they pull constant pranks all over the live wire.
Water.
Well, the rebar guys get paid by the job they do instead of by the hour. So they just do what they got to do as quick as they can. So if something is in their way that is ours, they won't think twice over kicking it over or stepping on it and keep doing their job. And we have to go back and fix it.
Okay.
But how did you get this job in the first place? How did you find out? Did you just look it up? Somebody told you about it?
So my dad used to work for the company and I had previously applied.
Yeah.
But they didn't get me. So my dad kept in contact with one of those guys when he left, and I lost my job at another company. And my dad just gave a phone call and he was like, yeah, they're looking for people. And I was able to give a good interview and get hired right before the Rona stuff happened. So
Oh, I didn't have like a new job.
yeah, I got in right before it. So now they're no longer hiring. So I just sneaked and was able to keep my job.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
grandfather did. Nice. Good work.
You're an essential worker now. Awesome.
Yay.
Yeah.
You're essential. I'm essential. He's essential. Alex is essential. The person's not essential is Tito. Sorry,
I'm sorry.
Tito.
Who's
You know,
next?
you are essential to Torah, man.
I'm essential in other ways.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah, what are you?
These jokes out. You just throw them out there, man.
You can't
You're Tito. You gotta stop shotgunning these things out there.
Well, who's next? Who didn't talk about themselves?
Tito, that's it.
you know,
So yeah, my week's been good. I've just been working from home. I work from home usually, so not much has changed. So yeah, my week is not as interesting as anybody else, where he's like working with like plumbers and like rebar guys and like in top of a building in a supermarket to provide food.
Building in all these like the 80th floor. And
Yeah.
life.
Always mid-floor. Mid-floor.
oh god, that has to be really bad. Like a Publix on top of a freaking building. That is like the weirdest thing ever.
But
Delivery
it's been a fun and chill week. I mean,
supplies. How'd you get the supplies up?
By hand. No elevators. Those are just for customers.
And that's why we're not architects.
Oh, sorry, Tito. All right.
So now that we got that out of the way,
I just gotta say this: when Alex says Tito, it actually said Tina in the.
in the caption,
I
Are
don't
you still
know-
running those captions?
Sorry, guys. I really don't know what you guys are talking about. Caps. I don't know what's going on.
are you on the desktop?
Yeah.
If you go scroll to the bottom, it says turn on captions. Next to present now.
Like
Yeah.
I don't have a present now. Did I get away taking my presentation abilities away?
You did.
No.
Did I
Yeah.
lose those privileges immediately?
I think
did.
I
After,
think
after last week and what you presented, yes, you lost your
I feel like I'm explaining like something.
I still can't look at turnips the same way anymore.
I mean, if it's not there, then I guess you don't have it, which is weird.
No, just like, you should have it. Are you in the computer?
Yeah.
Like if you move the thing down to like where you can hang up, in the right side it says turn on captions.
I feel like I'm talking to
This
myself.
He's not even.
This is great content.
We have a
Okay.
quarter of Alex.
We'll figure this out later.
Alex, you're becoming a dad, man.
Yeah.
Literally in so quick.
Okay, I got a dad joke that I heard from the trucker at work today.
What do you
Oh
say?
god.
Watley, are you ready? Are you
Yeah.
ready for the dad joke? Okay. Where do dads store their jokes?
Where did they store the jokes?
On the database.
Yeah, man. He laughed at it too.
When he said that, I almost
When you become a father, your DNA changes or something.
Like your bar for comedy just drops.
Yeah.
like he literally said, I have a dad joke, and then he said that, and I was like,
Just remember it for when your son grows up. And you want to
But-
embarrass him.
Like, what were you nice about it? Did you at least laughed?
I was like,
But here's my thing. But you found it funny enough to repeat.
That's true.
So
That's
You
true.
probably all
No, I found it funny that he thought it was funny.
No,
You
you
laughed when you were saying
no,
it.
you liked it, and then now that we're bringing you,
no, I guarantee what happened. This is what happened. The trucker told you the story, and then you were on the ground in the alley behind Walgreens laughing for the next 5 minutes about that joke.
How is it that I lived this, but you guys know what happened?
because you told
because
us.
we know you, Alex.
No,
You're a
cannot-
dad.
You cannot just
You're a dad.
assume-
It's
you
how it
cannot
is.
just assume something, okay, guys?
Okay, how far
I
off
should
are we?
say. You
Yeah,
cannot
How
take over
far
my
are
story.
we? How far off are we?
Huh?
How far off are? How far off?
How far are we?
I said that I laughed at the thought that he thought it was funny. That's what. That's
So
what
No,
you're, you're giggling.
don't-
What you're saying?
You giggle like a schoolgirl.
I was like, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the question is, okay, during this time we're all busy and stuff, like, how do you guys study?
Yeah.
How do you find time to study?
We all have different ways. We all have different methods. Is besides the word, besides studying Torah itself. Like, that's obvious. Is there anything extra that you're looking into or that you want to look into?
We're going.
Well, for me, honestly, that like the past like 2 weeks, I haven't really looked at much other than like just keeping up with the Torah portion for the week. Except like some of the conversations we've had. To be honest, last time I researched a little bit more, other than just like the regular topic, was like during the feast times, during like unleavened bread a while ago, and Passover and that kind of thing, and well coming up.
Yeah,
But
well, during that, did you use books? Did you use articles? Like, what did you use?
yeah, I was just researching online and some articles, listening to different perspectives of what people were like saying online and some of the controversies within the whole feast and that kind of thing.
That sounds cool.
And just getting the perspective just from the Jewish people and some of the people that are just like very just like the Bible and that's it. And you cannot use any other book to help you expand on that. And it's just nice to hear everyone's perspective on it.
Very odd. It's a very odd like stance though. You can't use any book except for the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic
It's a very
because like,
strange stance to be on.
this is like history books. Like, it's
Nope, can't use those.
can't use history books or anything that's like that explains like the culture of the Bible. It's like, no, that's wrong. Which, why? Why is it wrong?
Yeah.
You don't.
I mean, you need to understand culture because I mean, you have the Bible, which it's great, and it's basically it's a book that is given by the divine. But like other than that, I mean, there's historical things that play into it that you
Right.
become aware of it because otherwise you'll be lost in much of the language.
In a way, if you deny that, you're kind of denying history because then you're just ignoring.
Yeah.
it. Like, that's just history. You
Well, I
can
mean,
do it, but-
like when you think about the Bible in itself, you have the first 5 books, which is that's a lot of that. It's established and it's complete, right? You have the first 5 books. There's really nothing beyond that that's really confusing, as opposed to the New Testament, which is just literally a series of incomplete documents that are just compiled because we don't know
Like,
the
is it-
source of a lot of those questions. We just know the answers.
because those are letters that were sent to people, and like if I sent you a message now, it would make sense to you and me, but out of context to everybody else, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What those things are,
Exactly.
you got to figure that out.
I will agree.
So even you, what about you?
With the very little time that I have throughout the week between juggling the job and college and obviously studying the weekly portion, I try to just mostly video content. It's like the easiest way to do it without being able to stop your life. So, either pop a video while you're driving, YouTube. Obviously, don't look at it while you're driving, but listen to the content. Or I have seen it, believe it or not.
No, man.
I have seen it, but see, you get those things where you can listen to stuff like this on Teshua or Rico, or try to follow, like Liliana's a good teacher. Listen to Walter. I just try to get information from, I want to say different sources, but different teachers, because everybody has their own style and their own kind of way of explaining things. And that this teacher might pick up on some things that this teacher did not, but it complements each other and stuff like that. Exactly, different perspectives, but they're all speaking the truth. So it's a good combination of everything. And well, I'm lucky that my dad happens to be a pastor, so I get to talk to him and kind of throw things around or listen to what he's studying, or sometimes in the mornings, Saturday mornings, he's listening to videos, and I get to like not, I don't want to say eavesdrop, but like I'm in the kitchen, he's listening to a video, so I get to pick up on stuff like that. And recently, I started reading the book that Alex sent us, the colorful ceremonies.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
So I try to do a little bit of everything,
Oh, nice.
as much as I can to get forward in what I
Can you
think I need to
clarify?
learn. Or
I want to clarify. Rico sent us to us. I don't want him to think that I'm.
Rico sent it to you, and you sent it to everybody else.
Well, like, yeah, exactly. Like,
It was copyrighted, but it's
then
okay.
you
Tito tried to charge me $5 for it.
Oh wow!
$5.
But yeah,
But I think I'm on the same boat with you, Emmanuel, because like kind of hard to do it when you have like you go to work, you go to school, and sometimes the only day you have to study is like Shabbat. So like you said, like you listen to audios and videos like here and there, especially when you drive. That's like the perfect time.
Right.
Right now with the drives, like I've been trying to listen to stuff. The only problem is that there's not a lot of like, 'cause you can download audios, but there's not like a podcast or anything like that. Like,
Exactly. So like,
Until now,
Till now.
this is it. You're filling the niche, boys.
But I think there needs to be more like I don't know if the word is mediums.
Yeah, medium, genre, medium.
Yeah, there needs to be more platforms and outlets that people can listen to.
it should be more accessible. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is some, but it's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, but the point is good because you also get to understand the importance of going through the portion every week. Because sometimes we take it for granted. We're like, we're repeating this, but sometimes within one portion, you're covering 3 or 4 chapters within one of the 5 books of Moses, and then all of a sudden there's just information that makes you go dig into something else. Maybe you read a chapter, and then that at least is something to keep you going, and also it's something like just to maybe make you think, because sometimes we don't know like what topic maybe to start researching specifically, and then from there we can go on to a different topic and like the different ideas and that kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. Alex, how about you?
Well, I personally have. I read one book that Gabriel told me to read. It was a prayer to our Father, and he told me to read Hebrew Yeshua and Greek Yeshua, or Greek Jesus.
By Nehemiah Gordon.
Yeah. And so I read Hebrew Yeshua and Greek Jesus.
Yeah.
And bro, like he opened my mind to like which I already had an open mind to, obviously, but like a desire to like get to understand more of the cultural aspect of everything too. Because with Jonathan and Joanne, with the youth, we've been talking about and Rico too. We've been doing like the New Testament. We've been reading with the youth and all that. And so, obviously, me personally, out of all of us here, I have like the least, let's say, time in Torah, you could say. So I personally have gotten a lot in the little bit of time I have, but there's still a lot of stuff that I don't have. And so, like while we reading this portion, I'm learning with Rico and with Jonathan and Joanne a little bit, myself too. And after reading the Hebrew Yeshua and Greek Jesus, there is so much, like Tito said, there's so much in the text that we miss. And so from those 2 books, I ended up buying 17 books.
Okay.
So
That's it.
I have 17 books. I have read 10 of them, and right now I'm reading 2 that Rico told me, which is for the book of Leviticus. I'm almost done with the Who Shall Ascend, which that one, like I said last week, is mostly basically talking about what I sent on the chat. Well, basically the beginning with Adam and how the tabernacle and the temple basically not only connects us back to the Garden of Eden, but it like redirects us.
Yeah.
Like it like turns us back to the Father. And then the second book is Leviticus by Jacob Milgram, and that one, the first I started reading like the first chapter, and it's most that one's more like the sacrifice itself, like the sacrificial system and the offering system, and it's crazy how like it made me understand. Like last week we talked about the women, like how they can't, if they have their menstrual cycle, and like the men have if they have a like um like discharge.
Yeah, seminal discharge.
Yeah. That they can't go to the temple, that they have to basically
You have to say,
stay away, and then basically do a purification.
Yeah.
And obviously for me, I understood that as basically as a something that he established, and then he in the first chapter he describes that why didn't he prevent, like, let's say if you're sweaty or if you have the mucus and all that, you would think that it would like be something that will huh?
an issue.
Yeah, like something that it will make you unclean, you could say. And so, or he said feces or whatever, feces. And so why he didn't prevent that, and he was so specific with like those two topics, and he basically explained that those like you can only bring life to the temple, and by that happening, those two charges happening, it represented a form of if you want to say like I don't know,
Like
like
death. Yeah.
death. And so by those two things happening, you're not sinning obviously morally, but ritually you're not clean.
Yeah, it's a big thing is understanding the difference between the two.
Uh-huh.
If you don't understand it, then a lot of commandments seem redundant. They don't quite make sense,
Exactly.
and people start to discard them because they don't understand that there's a difference between moral and ritual purity.
Right.
Yeah. So after reading that, and then that's like I told you, it's like I think the first 2 pages, I'm pretty intrigued, because it's deeper than that. And so I feel like that's what I personally think is important, that we need to learn how to restructure our mindset and how we view the Bible and how we view the Word. Like we have to basically feel literally like when Yahweh is talking in the Word, He's really talking to you. Like He's basically explaining to you, not only the Israelites, but He's explaining to you, Evanuel, Jonathan, you, Tito, like this is how you have to do it. You know what I mean? And so that is where I am right now. But yeah, I have like 6 more books that I have to read.
That's good,
Well,
man.
when you read a book, how do you study through it? Do you just read it and then try to?
Well, what I do is, like, at first, like the first couple of books I read, it was like the first 5 was mainly because of Yeshua. We were studying Yeshua, and so I felt that there is a dilemma with us believers in Yeshua practicing certain traditions that Jewish people do, and that there is a certain dilemma of us doing certain rituals, that they do.
Yeah, traditions.
Implement them into our daily practice. And so I personally wanted to understand why they did those rituals, and I wanted to understand what was the problem. And then I basically understood that Yeshua's position had never been against every single tradition that the Jewish people have, because he basically was Jewish and he applied most of them. He just had a problem with traditions that were not only a burden, but that the leaders, believed that were over the Torah. And because they said it as leaders, that it had to be done over Torah. And so with that in mind, then it made me think about everything that Yeshua would have applied, maybe, or his position and other stuff, like the Amidah, or the Torah process. You know what I mean? The way that we do the Torah service and the way that we approach the Father in prayer. You know what I mean? All those things are important, because once you understand that it's not just you pray however you want to do it, and you start blurring out a bunch of words, that there is a structure to it. That way you can get to what you want to tell them.
Yeah.
And in that process, you can give him the honor that he deserves, and you can exalt him the way that he deserves, so you can basically approach him correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so those were my first books, getting to know basically the Hebrew Yeshua. And then once I understood the Hebrew Yeshua in the sense of where he stood culturally, I want to say, because I didn't know, like, we were reading the New Testament, right? And as we were reading, I didn't understand that when Yeshua was in Galilee, every town that he went to, all of them were basically Jewish towns. They were never Gentile towns.
Right.
So when you think about that, then the whole gospel changes, because if he never went to teach in a Gentile town, then when he spoke, he wasn't speaking to Gentiles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you have to understand
just to that real quick, even the term sinner was not necessarily a term for someone that was a Gentile or anything like that. It was maybe in reference to someone that just did not have the resources at the time in order to learn Torah equally as the more elite people did. So many of the people that he went to were those people. So they were just called sinners because they really were not being taught in how to really keep the Torah properly, or the commandments. And he was trying to reach those people, not necessarily Gentiles. So the term sinner is not necessarily someone that's breaking the law willingly.
Yeah.
That kind of like changes the story though, because like when we used to be in Christianity, some of us, like the thing that they would tell you is like, Yeshua or Jesus, he used to talk to, he was there for the Gentiles, and we're the Gentiles, and he came to save us and stuff like that. But he says it in the New Testament that he only came for the lost sheep of Israel. Yeah. He does have some interactions with some Gentiles, but the people that, like you said, Alex, the people that he's talking to most of the time is a Jewish audience.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's speaking to a Jewish audience, then you got to understand what do they believe and things like that. And so that's why you just can't read the Bible, because there's like a deep story that's there, and the only way you know is if you study. Yeah. Like the culture and things like that. And all the books that you're reading helps you a lot in finding the background, into those books. And it makes it deeper.
Most definitely the best way to approach it is to ask why. Why were people that weren't equipped to learn the Torah the same way, or weren't, permitted to learn the Torah the same way based on monetary value, why were they considered sinners? Why were they in that status in society? Why had it regressed to that point now where there was like this almost like a caste system of who could be at this level of knowledge in the Torah and who couldn't, based on how much money you had or where you lived or who you were? And then why did Yeshua need to come to address that? It's these questions that people don't usually ask.
Yeah, people don't usually ask.
People just get stuck at the door and they don't know how to help.
Right.
Just leave.
Because I feel like one thing that I personally feel like, not only as we need more platforms like the one we're trying to build and do, because I feel like there's a lot of people with like emotions. Like I feel like people with the will to follow God meet people at the door who don't really either don't have the tools to guide them, or they're not really interested in guiding them in truth. You know what I mean? They basically get taken advantage of. And so I feel like the more that we can bring truth, like I've said before, to people, I feel like it's gonna help them. You might not change them, but you can probably maybe redirect them, and eventually they will find
something better along
the way. Exactly.
You were talking about this with me, like I think it was like 2 weeks ago when I was still there. You were saying that you wanted to learn facts because with facts, it's kind of hard to deny,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like the way, like when I listen to Rico, when I listen to Gabriel, when I listen to Walter.
Wait. This is getting confusing. Not me. My dad.
Rico Senior.
Rico Senior.
Yeah, because you have to think people who are going to see this they're going to think it's me you're talking about.
So guys, whoever sees this is Rico Senior.
Yeah.
Rico Junior.
Yeah.
It's not me. It's
Gotta
But
listen
Rico
to
Jr. does have facts, but Rico Senior has more. Okay, so when I listen to them, when they present something to you, for you to you can debate them, but majority of the people that might debate them right off the bat either have facts or are going based on emotions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Like they want to defend their position with full emotions. Like, no, you're wrong. But if you really think about what they bring, it you need to have common sense to understand. Okay, like Gabriel, for instance. I think I said it last week. When I never understood fully the whole don't cook the baby on the mother's milk or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it so much, and then but I didn't. My common sense didn't let me accept. I will respect, but it didn't let me accept that it was like you cannot eat, a cheeseburger.
Cheeseburgers.
My common sense didn't let me understand that because it was like
They can eat cheeseburgers, but it has to be the meat cooked, and then they can add the cheese, but you can't cook it together. Well, I mean,
yeah.
I think that's some of them. Some of them don't even
It's a
eat a cheeseburger.
it's a very
Only
weird,
6 hours.
murky matter. Like
Okay. Yeah. The point is that I couldn't accept that.
it's a whole.
Meaning, I will respect
Other
it.
episode we could just discuss that.
We could just talk about cheeseburgers next episode.
Yeah, no, yeah. We're gonna be here for days.
Making me hungry.
But when
Real hungry dudes.
when Gabriel started talking, he told me about the book that he was reading that basically described a specific sacrifice and fertility ritual that the Canaanites did in their land, which had to do with that. What is it? Baking? I can't.
Yeah, the
Cooking.
mother's milk.
In the mother's milk.
Cooking the goats in his mother's milk.
I can't. I never can remember word for word, but doing that, and so they did a specific ritual for fertility in their land, which they did that. Then it makes sense. Okay, so the Israelites are going to Canaan, and so he's letting them know, okay, you're going to Canaan. They do this. Don't do this.
Don't do that. Exactly.
Okay, so that makes sense. But for me to get that, I had to understand that from another book that talks about the culture and what's going on in that land and who are those people that the Father is telling me don't be like them.
Which is kind of weird also because when you're reading, when it talks about that in the Torah, I don't remember the exact topic about it, but it's like it's just one verse that says that when the topic is nowhere related to like food. And then it's just like a parenthesis, like, oh, you should do this, this, and this. And by the way, this that is not related at all.
Yeah.
Not do, and then just keep going. And it's
I
just
know,
like,
yeah.
It's strange.
But so yeah, I feel facts are.
It may have been like an addendum later on, like the author was writing it. He was like, "Oh wait, I mean, sorry."
Before I forget.
Oh,
But yeah, though, I feel what I want is facts. I want to be able to bring
right
here in our little our podcast, and then when I do teachings with with Jonathan and John, I want to be able to give them facts. I want to be able to give them something that they can be firm on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, facts are important because I think like sometimes we like you said we deal with like emotion, and then either we go with like this emotion that is also the same as like pretty much like the debate mode, and like that person can bring as many facts as they want, and then you don't want to listen to it. So that's why we have to create this mindset within people that we should deal facts with facts. I mean, you can still have different opinions based on the facts.
Exactly.
Facts that are just black and white, and that's it. There's like nothing else.
Right.
Not even like look deeper.
Well, going back to what Alex said, kind of where he said people get stuck at the door. I feel like, especially with traditional, well, let's say Christianity per se, because I don't want to like just bash Christianity this entire podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But coming from that world and having our eyes open, it's like, well, my dad asked these questions. It's like, well, wait a minute. Well, the fourth commandment says keep the Sabbath. Why aren't we doing this? Like, does that mean Sunday? Is it Saturday? Should we look into this? And the main response is, oh, well, we kind of skip over the fourth. That's for the Jews. Yeshua came and abolished the law. We're fine. We forget about that stuff. And I think culturally what's been happening is like people are being taught this grace or this this culture of, oh, come as you are, Jesus will accept you, everything will be great, and forget about it because he died for your sins. So sin as much as you want, we still love you, and don't learn anything because he's like, it's like basically like you have a genie in your pocket.
Or like an
So
insurance.
whatever sin you do,
That-
just gets forgiven right away.
The problem is that whole theology spawns a lot of issues in of itself. Like, for example, it spawns the idea of like the buddy Jesus, where Jesus is like my best pal, and he's my
Right.
best friend. I can talk to him. And like, hey man, how you doing, Jesus? I'm doing really great today. How are you? That's when in reality that's not even remotely the way you need to be approaching the king.
Like if he came like
Or-
now, like I
It's
don't
the king, exactly.
Yeah, you're not going to go and
Lot of-
praise the Lord when he comes back. It's not
No.
what's going to happen.
Mhm.
So,
And I don't think necessarily it comes from a place of, somebody trying to be evil or lead
No.
people to a wrong place, but it
Right.
comes from a place where people just accept this idea of like it's so easy to follow Jesus and forget that he died for my sins and we just get to do whatever we want, that they don't dive deeper into what it means to, be a believer or what even you believe in, like what your God wants from you.
I think
So
that,
one of these,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
that just comes from like a lack of research because
Exactly.
everything they get from is from the pulpit, and that's how it
Exactly.
is in most of those places.
Exactly. And
and a lot of it's taught just to read at surface level. You just read the verse. Okay, this is what this was said. Thus the Lord said this, and
right.
then the preacher will interpret it, and then he'll tell me what it really means.
What he thinks
But
it means.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. But it's like I just read the words. It's whatever. You may as well just like flip through empty pages for 5 minutes and then just have the preacher tell me what it means. It's the same thing.
Right.
This brings out the importance of just this discussion that we're having, because based on that you guys were just mentioning it, many people, especially young people, they go like, well, I follow this because my parents follow this.
Yeah,
And then I follow this because this person told me this. And then the thing is, once you ask them, and at least like you don't have to be like super smart or like be a genius, read all these books and all this stuff to like at least know the core. But at least many of these people don't even know the core issues of their beliefs.
Right.
So this is why I think it's nice to have a discussion like this and just talk about it and explore, so we can actually create some type of like mindset where we actually need to create our own belief system, and not just what other people say. And I've seen people that they've told to my face like, oh, well, I know the Bible says that, but I just rather listen to the people that's teaching me up there, even though they're reading something black and white there. So those people that they don't have their own beliefs. They don't believe in the Bible. They believe in the people that's talking on top. That's about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, this is very symptomatic of here we go again of the Christian world, the way it was developed. Right. There's nothing really wrong with it, but by this point in its history, it's at this point it's over 1,000 years old now. So it's had all that time to just change and be morphed, and now we're at the point now where we have people that come from that into the Hebrew roots. They take that same mindset with them, and they take that same style of study where they just read the Torah, and then the rabbi tells me. I'm just gonna read the Torah.
Exactly. Yep.
And then if there's any questions, they don't even bother to look at for themselves. They just ask the rabbi, and then they take his opinion, right or wrong, crazy or sane, as law, and that's it. Like, okay, moving on now.
But one other thing I like that I think all of our teachers have adopted in some kind of way as well. Don't believe me. Take what I'm saying, jot it down, and look it up for yourself. And if you have any questions, come ask me. We'll discuss it. And it's about a what?
Or that, or they'll say, "Come ask me," and then we'll just study it together.
Exactly. So that's what it's all about. We us going together, learning together, and sometimes we're all human. We don't all have all the answers.
Yeah. Sometimes. Like actually, there was a question I actually asked my father, Rico Senior. I asked him, and he didn't know the answer. He told me, "Oh no." I was like, "That's okay. Let's let me study it then. We figure it out, so I can give you the answer. We both get better."
Because there is people that make up the answer.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
I you know what?
They're like, oh, it actually is because of this. You're like, oh yeah, really? Yeah.
Well, actually, I'll ask you guys the same question because I want to know if you guys have any theories or if we can actually study on it and see if we can find an answer. Okay, so I'm reading. I've been rereading the book Social Justice in Ancient Israel and the Ancient Near East by Moshe Weinfeld. Really good read. It's been tying in a lot with a lot of more recent teachings going around about redemption, the the abolishing of debts, the Jubilee, a lot of those things. It's been really good. And one of the questions I had was because in the book, I think it was like chapter 5, it discussed the importance of cities of refuge and sacred cities.
Yeah.
And they and back in the Judean region, right, with the Canaanites and the Assyrians, they had certain cities where it was dedicated to a certain god because there was a temple there, and so that city was considered sacred and holy. So that was a place of refuge, right? Because the idea of cities of refuge isn't anything new, right? It's really but just the difference between ours and theirs was ours. The city itself isn't sacred. It's just a place that it's like a neutral zone that's under the jurisdiction of the Levites.
Yeah.
So you can for refuge and for safety during during some sort of like a judicial trial. Like if you're guilty of manslaughter, you didn't mean to do anything. You killed someone by accident. You go there to be safe from retribution.
Right.
Till order can be resolved. So the question is, when the kingdom of Israel was established and they took out the Canaanites and the Assyrians from that region, right? There are some cities that were formerly places of refuge because they were considered holy, they're considered sacred under their gods, right? So they were taken over, and they were allowed to keep their status as a city of refuge, but were no longer considered sacred because only Jerusalem was considered to be sacred. It was declared that by David. My question is, why were they allowed to stay as a place of refuge, but not sacred anymore? That's my question. Because not all of them were cities under the Levites, but some were allowed to stay as places of refuge.
This is true because sometimes they would just take over and leave it as is.
Like they would take down the temple and everything. It would no longer be a city dedicated to that god, obviously. But it would be a place of refuge. Why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah,
That's a good question. Yeah.
that's interesting. So that's your homework. Enjoy it. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's really good.
Yeah. I mean, we just keep.
Wow. Now you got it.
I'm trying to finish the book that I have. Now I want to get another one.
Now Alex is gonna go and he's gonna buy like 5 more books just because of that.
Just on that question alone, yeah.
Listen, I'm trying to finish the 6 that I have here. I don't want to read another one.
Book that he's reading though is pretty good. Because I read it a while back though.
Yeah,
I think I was living in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's chapter 5, privileges and freedoms of temple cities. That's what it is.
But it's a really good book because it explains a lot of the culture in the Old Testament.
Uh-huh.
And it explains like how the other culture would think, and that's where I think Rico gets the teaching about the waters,
The bitter water.
the bitter waters, or
The
something.
Waters, Numbers 5, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's from that book, right? If I'm not
Um,
mistaken. Some concepts are in that.
There's a
book.
lot
I
of
think that's righteousness and justice.
yeah. Like this book is key for remission of debts, remission of sin,
Jubilee.
righteousness and justice, jubilee.
Because the thing that the book talks about that was pretty good is that every time there was a new king, they would have like a jubilee.
Yeah,
and all
they-
debts
yeah.
would be
They would
repaid.
have all debt.
It was not something that Israel just did. Everybody did it. The only difference is that it'd be done every time there was a new king, so that way they can gain like the politicians today, like
Yeah,
you
so
know,
Yeah, they can like leverage.
Exactly.
yeah, politicians are like, oh, you vote for me, I'll get back jobs, and
The only challenge with this type of study, though, is if you're very, very new and you dive into this kind of stuff, you're going to start asking yourself, well, what's the difference between Israel and this God and the rest of the other gods? It's good. It's all
Yeah,
the same thing.
exactly. You gotta be very careful with that too.
Yeah. So that's why I really feel like this, you need to have a firm foundation and know what this are and know the fact that Yahweh simply used things that the people already understood, but just changed it for his own purpose.
and in a way, his stuff was way better because the way the
It's more
other
equitable.
the way the other nations did it was kind of like self-centered in a way to make the king look
Right.
better. But he did it so that way you could actually, have equity and it was more. I don't know what's the word.
It was more just and righteous.
It was more just and righteous. Yeah.
Wow.
Even to that, today you have many people that are like atheists, and they go like, oh, why do you follow that God of the Old Testament? He's like this, like violent God and all kind of things. But yet when you study these different cultures and you compare it to the Torah, you go like, he's a very righteous king. He
He's a
actually
very,
the opportunity to redeem yourself and come
very
back.
just.
Very just compared to the other kings where they were just like, all right, you messed up, you're done, you're out.
You're done, yeah.
even then, like even with the old Assyrian and Mesopotamian and Greek gods, you could just be like a farmer doing your own thing, and somehow you're going to be stricken down for no reason. There was no rhyme or reason to the judgment or like the way
Yeah.
you worship or anything. It was just we kill and we shed blood and we lay it on our temples to please the gods so they don't kill us.
I mean, the fact that they judge people by throwing them in a river tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Egyptians saw that as normal.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Think about it.
This is just. It will work.
Yeah.
Oh, did you not know that?
What? No, that's why I want to read this one.
Okay.
But I mean, you got baptized, right?
Near East.
You got baptized.
Yeah, I did.
So you learned about it.
No,
You have to learn about it before you get baptized.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah,
Now,
but he didn't tell me about the Egyptians throwing people tied up. And
Yeah, because what it is that because it's really good because it changes how the book of Exodus is.
Yeah, but there's two things. There's the way the Egyptians, the ancient world, thought of it, and there's the way that Adonai proclaimed it to be. Right. So the mikvah, the reason the waters have to be living and flowing, right, is because when you go in and you come out, you're a new creature, right?
okay.
But in the ancient world, right, that was considered to be judgment according to the Egyptians and the ancient cultures, where if you went into the water and you came back out, you were innocent according to their water god, because you have to think, hell to them was the deep oceans, Sheol, right? So if you drowned, you basically went to hell because they didn't know what was
Okay. I think I heard that. That.
So
To have.
wait, what?
No, I'm just saying. I'm pretty sure he has because
Yeah,
I think he has.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I did.
when they threw all the babies and the children of Israel into the river, no one survived.
Because the way it would work is like, okay,
They were guilty.
I accuse you, Alex, of stealing something from mine or whatever. I accuse you. The way they would do it, they would tie you up, and they're like, you know what? The river god will make you just if you haven't done anything. They'll throw you tied up in the river, the raging river.
Yeah.
And somehow, you're supposed to get out of that. And if you did get out, it's because the gods said that you were just.
And that means that you died.
That means they throw
you
me
died.
in the river and I die, and all my possessions become yours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why Moses was basically kept. They kept Moses, right? Because he basically survived the judgment.
Well, it's not even that. He was adopted into the royal family because they saw he survived. So like, oh, he's clearly innocent, and so they adopted him as a new creature into their family.
Yeah.
But-
he was also a typology like humanity because just like Noah, he went into an ark and he survived the water just like Noah did. So it's a typology of also new creation, just like sort of Noah.
I just want to say the Bible is really poetic too.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I think what's the best part is the way that God throws it back in their face when they cross the Red Sea. They cross the Red
He's just
Sea.
like, here you go. Pa.
Yeah, right. They crossed
Mic
right,
drop.
the Egyptians immediately drowned.
And I like when they cross before they go into the Promised Land and they cross the River Jordan. And
Yeah.
talk to the harlot in Jericho, and she's like, "We know now that your God is God."
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool statement because they know.
Yeah, because she goes on, because he controls the seas.
Exactly. Now you have to think these people heard about what happened in Egypt. Like this was huge news in the ancient world.
Yeah.
So they all
I
knew.
know. Yeah, I think people don't know. That's what's so cool about it. Like people don't know like what happened in Egypt. Like the whole world knew about it.
Yeah, the whole ancient world.
But you see, the thing is that
Okay.
it's not that God is copying the other nations or that God follows the way the nations does. Is that He knows there's a language that they understand, and that's
Correct.
what He's saying.
Right.
And that's
Which
what you
is-
got to understand.
Yeah, which is the reason why in the Jonah story, when he comes back up on the ocean, Nineveh immediately is like, "Yep, we're in for that god. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the one."
Yep. That guy's innocent.
Now, well, it's not that he was innocent. You got someone
He survived the trial.
that
Yeah.
survived the trial and comes out of like the mouth of
Right.
hell. It says, "Follow my God, because now I'm alive."
Right.
Yep, that's it.
Yep.
I'm in.
I can't argue.
I mean, the oceans are like this unknown that it's just very mysterious because we really don't know to what extent it goes.
It's still, which is
So
weird.
we-
it's just like,
Then we know about the ocean. Actually.
Yeah, it's
Huh?
still weird.
We know more about space than the ocean.
yeah,
We don't know that much about the ocean. Like,
Like,
frogs.
I know,
There's
that's why,
creatures
that's
that-
why we shouldn't go mining in the moon.
yeah, like they survived. Oh no, like they survived the
Yeah, you
flood.
can. That's what I know.
There's creatures, probably the oldest creature you'll find ever. It's on the ocean.
They're technically they're creatures that are untouched since before the flood down there.
They keep finding
Yeah.
things.
They're technically things that are from before the flood down there. So
There's
Isn't
places
it
that we don't know how deep they are.
yeah, oh,
They
yeah.
found like some prehistoric shark in Japan, like years ago.
Yeah.
That they hadn't seen in a while, and they found it.
It was just swimming around, like whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking, but like the ocean for everybody, even today, is like a mysterious slash scary,
It's
scary thing.
terrifying.
And when you go through the ships, like through the ocean, like the waves and everything is pretty consuming.
Yeah.
Like I think my dad was telling me about my grandfather because he used to go, I think around like the coast.
Mhm.
There's a name for it, like the tip of Chile, where
Uh-huh.
like the oceans they like collide, like the Atlantic and the
Oh
Pacific.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's really dangerous.
Is that Cape Horn? Or
Yeah.
is that
No, Cape Horn's Africa.
yeah? So
But I
it's
think
Cape
there's
something.
I think it's Cape something, but it's pretty.
It's not actually Cape.
Like
I'll
you're
look it up.
you're at the
Find out.
mercy of the boat and hoping.
I think it's Cape Horn, no, because it's Cape Town. I think it's Africa, no. Cape Horn, I think, is in South America, no.
It's Cape Horn. Yeah,
I'm looking
not-
it up now. Internet,
Geography wasn't my thing.
Google.
I know it's that area near like Terra de Fuego, that area.
Cape Horn
Because I know
in Chile.
I know the southernmost place you can go to today is called Ushia.
Here's what the internet says. The internet says Cape Horn
And
is a rocky headland on Hornos Island in southern Chile's Tierra del Fuego.
Okay.
So I was
Cape Horn.
Cape Horn.
Cape Horn.
I've actually read or heard that you can actually like see, like if you look at it, like could like reinstating that you just said about like you can actually see the division of the oceans, which
Yeah,
is
You can,
Yeah,
yeah, you
there.
can. It's really weird. Actually, did you know that there's a small island in France? Like once a year, you'll go there and you see square waves.
square waves.
Square, like the wave,
Square waves.
it appears in like a grid if you look out, and it's extremely dangerous. And the reason why is because you get the mixing of like the Atlantic and Pacific in that one area. And the way it mixes and crashes together, it makes like this weird like grid pattern in the ocean. And if you're caught out there, you will die. 100%
Like
you will die.
smash that or like
Well, they'll show you. There's,
Carried away.
it's will like no, you'll just be immediately drowned because there's no way out without getting caught into like a riptide and getting sucked out.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
that shows you like even today like in modern times like the ocean is a scary
It's a
place.
horrifying place. Like just one time, just try being on the ocean and just floating there in the deep ocean when you can't see.
Bro.
You'd be like, "Yep, that's the hell's down there, 100%." Yep.
yeah, you're gonna burn.
Like, you pick like a string and then you start pulling it and there's like different things that you could talk about because then you can start talking about why Yeshua
Yeah.
walked on the waters in the Sea of Galilee, like how big a deal that was for everybody.
Right?
Or him being in the desert for 40 days.
40 days.
40.
40 days.
And 40 nights.
What a nice-
So he was hot and cold.
True.
It is true. You show me pictures. It is square waves, man.
I
Yeah, I
see
looked
some
it up. Yeah,
Photoshop.
it's crazy.
That Minecraft wave, man.
Minecraft. That picture was created by Minecraft.
Yeah, but
It's not-
something that I learned also from Rico and from is it Dina Dai? She about the waters or the waters being representing chaos.
Yep.
That's something that I didn't connect on my my beginning studies, like when it spoke about that in the Torah. I didn't understand it until like I saw that explanation, and now it's so crazy how now when you understand these terms, you can substitute like say whatever waters or whatever or chaos, and then you can substitute representing the nations basically. You know what I mean? Like how
In Revelation, like you see the dragon chasing the woman, and then it spews out water.
Yeah.
When I used to read it as a kid, I was like,
Or
the dragon spew out water. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
or
But,
it initially comes out of the sea, does it?
yeah, I
Right.
think that
Yeah, actually, okay. This one, I just this just occurred to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong on this one. But in Genesis, before the flood, there's really no reference of humanity fearing the ocean or anything like besides just they being created. Created. And then since almost every culture has a flood story, it seems like the fear of the ocean happened after the flood.
yeah. Well, you got-
I read something about that, and I can't.
It's weird, right?
Actually, also, I'm not even sure right now out of the top of my head, but
Every
like,
culture-
well, when Adam is given the opportunity to name the creatures, does that include the sea creatures because they were created before?
Look, he swam in the ocean. And
I think Adam was kind of Aquaman, bro.
I think
Yeah, probably. I think he has superpowers. I'm not joking. I think
he did like the Aquaman when he thinks. And he
I just imagine this being that he had to have certain amount of powers because
I
like,
imagine
he was created perfect.
well, here's the thing: where do we believe that it was geographically located? The garden,
What?
Like, where do we believe it was geographically located? The Garden of Eden,
Oh, in Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. Like, that's pretty far from the ocean. Now,
Right.
I would think he just kind of like went on a limb and just said they're fish. It's just fish.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
because
There's so much in the ocean.
he
Yeah,
thinks
fish,
Fish.
You're-
fish.
you're a dog.
Yeah, you
Ah,
had the
yeah.
river going into the garden, which
Bird.
maybe they have fish, maybe they not have fish.
Actually, that's true because he said name every beast. Like, does that mean name every species or just every? Like, that's a
I think
bird.
he could have just said
That's a
kind by
lion.
kind.
That's yeah. He could have done it by kind. We don't know exactly. Again, we weren't there.
Yeah, we
So-
weren't there.
I actually
It's
have
a
a
lot
book called Awesome Creation, and it's
Yeah.
just it's a perspective of a mixture of science with like Jewish philosophy. There we go, and it's actually really good. It just says a lot that'll make you think. It actually has a very interesting chapter about well, Alex was talking about earlier about chaos and how the language that is using, because to a point also Moses actually is the one like it's doing like a recap of creation, so he's probably doing it in a way that the Israelites will understand. So it actually mentions the whole chaos thing and in Egypt and how Moses wrote it that way just to show the Israelites the power that that God had control over chaos.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like, it was chaos and the fact that because he was addressing the people that were enslaved to Egypt, he was
Yeah.
illustrating the fact that God went to war with all the gods of Egypt and systematically broke them all down in this way.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder, because to that also, obviously Moses got the Torah or the 5 books by the divine God, but yet I wonder on to what extent he wrote it just to in a way that was understood specifically to the mindset of the people all the time,
I think. Well, you also remember that Moses was royalty. Moses,
Yeah.
and
Right.
being part of the Egyptian higher royal caste, I'm sure he had exposure to the other like regions of the ancient Near East that
Literature
Egypt
and stuff.
traded with.
Yeah.
So the Assyrians, the Hittites, the Mesopotamians, the Assyrians. I'm sure he met delegates and knew all these cultures.
Right.
So
No, but there's no way of knowing this, but I just wonder what type of illustration or maybe I don't know what did God put in Moses' head for him basically to dictate the full Torah,
here's the
because
thing, but
it includes every book.
my whole point is that I think God chose the right guy to explain to other people
Yeah.
the way.
Correct.
Since
Right.
he would have the most intimate knowledge of how it all worked anyway.
Right. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
So I think you're right. I think he did have a little bit of carte blanche in terms of how he presented to the people, but the message was obviously divine.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
But it's just interesting, something that just makes you think. But it's like something we'll never know for sure how it went.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just makes you think.
Yeah, when the millennium comes, we'll ask. Like, hey,
after the rapture, you're gonna ask me.
Yeah.
I can't find it. There's something about that.
Ooh, we got to do a review of Left Behind. We all have to watch Left Behind and discuss it on an episode.
Ooh, we're gonna movie review time.
Yep.
I never watched
We'll
it.
do a section movie review.
We'll do the 3, and we'll do the ones with Kirk Cameron, and then we'll do the one with Nicolas Cage last.
have you seen those, Alex? Have you seen the old ones?
They're so,
Not the old one. I saw the new one.
so
I haven't
amazing.
seen either one.
Oh, they're so amazingly bad. I love them.
I remember I used to watch those movies, and I used to be like, wow, man,
That's how it's gonna be.
that's how it's gonna be.
That's gonna be mean. That's gonna be mean in the future.
I don't want to stay.
Bro, okay, listen. I never I don't want to say. I never understood that, right? But one thing that I saw in a documentary was like this. I think it was a Christian pastor. He was in Jerusalem, and he was in in Megiddo or whatever,
Uh-huh.
doing a tour, right, bro? And this gentleman was like explaining to the tourists. They were like, okay, so this is where the final battle of Megiddo, which means Armageddon, is going to happen. And what's going to happen is that all of us that are going to be raptured, in the rapture, we're going to ascend with Jesus. And then in the final days, we will come down with Jesus and we will witness the judgment on the Jews. And I was like,
Whoa.
That's
Just the Jews.
yeah.
I was
So what happened to the whole world?
Oh, what?
This is are these like
Just the
same-
Jews. Just,
all the way to Israel to talk about the
Dude.
Jews and how they're gonna be judged.
That's
He's-
fucked up.
But no, but not that. But like them coming in, like them getting raptured, and then they just come with like white robes and crowns with Jesus.
But again, like so, all the Christians who don't celebrate the Sabbath, who eat pork, who celebrate confirmed pagan holidays, those are the ones that are going to be saved, and the chosen people are all going to burn and suffer. That makes a lot of sense. It's great.
Yeah.
Great theology you got there.
I was like, listen, guys, I'm still learning, but that doesn't add up to me. That's
Exactly.
well, that's
Makes sense.
pretty convenient.
What?
well, that's one of the. That's,
Go, go, go.
that's one of the things that's important. Like especially Alex being the perfect example of somebody who wasn't. I mean, all of us we didn't come into it having the most knowledge of it, but Alex didn't grow up in churches. Alex didn't. He knew of God and there was a God, but he didn't grow up in that culture. So he didn't have all these other ideas, but he looked into it. So he believed that there was a God. He started studying and he went deeper into it, to which I think right now in the times that we're at, we just kind of get to a point and it's just like, okay, I get it. I can do what I want and God will forgive me. I don't have to study anything. When this means eat, kill and eat, and I'm going to eat, kill and eat anything I want. And I don't have to study any deeper into the context or into the mentality that was at the time. It's A-okay.
Or even like reading, like
Yeah.
like that part that you talk about, like eat whatever you want, where Peter has that vision.
Some people just stop. Right.
Man, I saw this lobster, and this lobster was big, and it looked so appetizing.
All you gotta do is like,
It was like I'm gonna go to the Red Lobster of the first century.
all you gotta do is like read like the next chapter, and like he's like, guys, I realized what my vision meant. It's not about food; it's about people. It's like,
Nah.
nah,
Let's just put that out.
it's
Let's
about
talk
ribs.
that.
Wait, does that mean we can?
Bacon.
But I think, I guess, to bring it into the next topic is we study all this because as men we're going to be head of the house someday. Alex is already the head of a house.
Yeah,
he's a father and a husband.
Man.
But we'll do this so that way in the future, when we have our own kids and stuff like that, that they're very well, disciplined.
yeah.
But what do you guys like? Alex is already a dad; he's already a husband. But you guys, and I guess we'll talk about it too. Like, what do we?
Just once.
What do we expect? What do we expect? What do you guys expect from yourselves? Like, what does it mean to be head of the house? I guess is the question.
Wow. That's deep.
That's
That is
deep, bro.
That's deep, man. That's deep.
It's Alex's question.
Bruh.
So is that question like for Alex, or are you like excusing Alex from the questions?
Am I answering first or am I answering last?
You got to answer.
What's your experience as head of the household?
Well, my experience is that
Careful what you say.
yeah, I gotta choose my words.
It's in video forever.
I see in the reflection of behind the TV, your wife is there. Man.
Oh, is she on?
No, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
I think for me personally, I feel like at least my experience, right? Because I've learned that even though we are all trying to follow, the same thing, I'm understanding that some of us have different situations and experiences or whatever. And so in my position, I feel like I am honored for the challenge of not only honoring the father and honoring my family, because I feel like it gives us a sense of direction and responsibility.
Yeah.
And so with my experience, I think it's been great. I've been open-minded. I've been consistent. I've been pretty persistent on personally. My personal mindset is I just want to be How do you say conforme in English?
Informe?
hmm Uh,
Oh my God.
I just want to represent him. You know, what I mean, I want to be able to humbly,
You want to be grateful for what you have, pretty much.
exactly. You know, what I mean, I don't want anything less or anything more. I just want to be able to honor him correctly, right? I feel like I didn't have, anything. I understanding that the type of lifestyle that I had before and mindset that I had before and understanding to now, I feel like I've gained the world basically. And
Yeah.
so the only reason why I got it is because of the way that I approach myself on honoring him and getting to know him and his heart and all that. So even though it's a lot of responsibility, I cherish it and I feel like the most important thing is taking it serious and understanding that, you know, we are all young, and we joke, we have fun, but you get serious, and then, you become a grown up and then you become a man and you're responsible for a lot of stuff that eventually is not going to be a joke. And so if you're not aligned with the father and you're not obviously following his structure for your home, which uh is one thing is a connection that I like a lot about Shabbats, is that, studying it with, Gabriel, Rico, and Walter, the way that we receive the Sabbath and how the table represents an altar, and the bread, the basically the provision that the Father gives and all that, how we basically connect our home to the Father, and we basically bring we fulfill the purpose, right? Because yes, we have a temple, but the purpose of the Father is basically for him to basically abide, is it, or in with us in a way? And so he wants to be in our homes basically. And so when we do that, us as priest, which that's what as my topic about, when we make the connections, if we're priest and and our home becomes a temple, and tables become altars, and and all that, then we have to understand that our structure of being priests in our homes and our temples have to be mirroring his temple and the way that he approaches his house. And that's the same way we should be approaching our homes. And so that's basically what I'm trying to learn, you know, structuring my life and my home to his as much as I can.
Yeah, I feel like now that you have a kid, it's like a big responsibility to
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, and I like that too. I like the challenge of being able to have a little human and teach that little human as much, as truth as I can
Yeah.
from the start. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
With no bias. You know what I mean?
Well,
Just
definitely.
open-
The more
open-
the more that you learn this and grasp it, like give us more updates on this as you keep studying, so that we also can get your perspective on this, because we're not going to reach this at least for a couple more years. So may as well start now, right?
Yeah, I'll give you my experience. Obviously, like I said, like my experience obviously might be different from yours, but I feel like the structure that we can follow, even though our experiences are going to be different, I feel the structure is probably is going to have to be the same because it's
yeah,
based
what you mean.
on the house.
It doesn't exactly work exactly the same for everybody.
Uh-huh.
There's a guideline.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's a template.
Yeah, there's something that's expected as you as a father and a husband that because I've seen in some cases, and like where especially starting out in Hebrew roots, where like the husband or the father, he's not too into it,
Yeah,
and then the wife, she's the one that's like pushing and
super into
kind
it.
of
and everything.
carrying it.
That or one of them gets a weird, like they learn something strange with no context or background, and they just kind of veer off in a weird direction,
Uh-huh.
and then it causes like a rift between the two.
Yeah, and
It's very
you
odd.
as a husband and father, you're the leader of the family.
Yeah, captain of the ship. You got to
So-
make sure it doesn't crash into rocks.
Yeah,
And I feel that's something we have to change, though, guys. Too. We gotta eliminate this because women are holy and they do their part, but I feel like more men should be stepping up to basically
you have to do your part.
meet up our women.
Yeah,
You just be like sitting back and like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna chillax and then everything to be okay. Because I see some fathers do that in general, not just talking about Torah. Like they don't really get involved with their children's lives, and then they grow up and lo and behold, they live in this crazy life, and it's because the parents didn't get involved.
Yeah.
You know? And it's very crucial as a parent and a father that you get involved with your kids because
And you're an example.
you stick into them. That,
Yeah, well, you're the first example.
You gotta
You're
be
the
the
most
example.
important example.
Because they see you like, oh, he says that he likes the Bible and loves God, but he doesn't really take it seriously.
Exactly.
And he just like does whatever. He's not gonna take you seriously. The kid is not gonna take it seriously. He's like, if my father didn't take it seriously, then why do I have to?
Yeah.
And then they start veering off, and that's why it's a big responsibility that
Next thing you know, boom, crackhead. That's how it goes. How it goes.
No,
Those are the steps, just like that. Just
Immediately. They just
immediately.
immediately he's in the world. He's in the waters, in
he's,
the chaos.
he's wearing a Bad Bunny shirt.
He's sadly tied up and thrown into the waters.
Yeah, metaphorically, not literally. Please.
Not literally, like the Egyptians.
And I guess like right now I'm not married or anything, and I don't have kids, but the thing that I know that it's expected of me in the future is make sure that I, like you said, that I be the example.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Just talk after walk the talk, and I think that's what it is in Torah. That's the biggest thing. It's not just about your words; it's about your actions. And I think
Right.
the problem with Christianity that they don't understand
It's the
is
opposite.
that
It's the
you're,
opposite.
like, for example, faith is not just about I believe in God.
Yep.
You know,
When you hide behind grace, I'm saved by grace, I'm saved by grace, I don't do anything, I'm saved by grace, then you lose what makes it effective. That's righteous act.
yeah, that,
Being just in your life all day, every day,
I think-
instead of just sometimes.
I think that's a big concept that you learn in Hebrews.
Yeah.
It's that you gotta have good actions,
It's a juxtaposition.
and that everybody's watching your actions. And I know me and you, Alex, we talked about that. That people do look at what you do, and they pay attention. And you don't think they are. They are.
Yeah.
If you slip a little bit,
Look at
they're
you.
gonna catch you. They're waiting for you, you know?
And your success is so small compared to what one tragic mistake can bring.
Yep, exactly. So, gotta be careful because you're waiting in those alleys with that crack. You're waiting for it. Waiting for it.
No, I'm not. I'm fine.
This is a was it
PSA.
PSA for drugs. Don't do drugs.
Don't
No, the drugs.
crack
But,
is whack.
But what about you guys, like Emmanuel and Tito? Like, what do you guys think? Like, in the future, what do you expect for yourselves?
Wanna go with Emmanuel?
I guess I'll go.
Pass that puck. What's wrong?
It's not too crazy.
No, it's not bad. Well, as
Well,
someone
he's closer to that step than I am. So
hopefully this year is a year. And obviously, as someone who's engaged and hoping that this year I get to seal the deal and make it official.
Yeah.
It's kind of some pressure you put on yourself, to not only for you, not only to uphold the promise that you made to God when you started following His commandments, but to the household that you're gonna mold, because you want to set the right example, and you want to do things right, but you don't want to do it in a manner that's too pushy or
It's a balance.
exactly. Just get into a balance of even before having any expectations of what I want from my future wife is what expectations do I have to meet first, and what man do I have to become in order for my household to follow lead? Because it's like we were saying, actions speak louder than words. So I can sit here and tell things I want all day, but if I'm not willing to make the change to myself, then there's really no point in me trying to become a leader with just saying things and acting in a different way. So this whole journey's been kind of interesting into, not only spiritually, obviously that's a huge part, your connection with God, and that influences your decisions in the other way of getting your finances in order, your credit in order, the way that you think about, even the way that you come into the house, so you clean, the way you do your laundry, stuff like that. You have to start molding into a pattern that, again, not to sound redundant, that people will lead, people will follow your example, and being someone of faith and being a PK or a pastor's kid, that kind of pressure is
It's double the pressure of the regular follower.
right. So, and it's not like, people have opinions, people say what they say, but it's not even the outside opinions, it's the opinions of, am I doing what's right? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I steering away and just this thing? Am I setting an example in the way that I'm living, the way I'm moving, and what I'm doing?
Yeah.
That's kind of what my steps are at right now, and hopefully, I know it's a learning curve and it'll take some time, but hopefully I'm taking the right steps to make it and be a good father and a good husband.
Yeah, I got this.
All we can do is just try.
I believe in you guys.
Well, you're gonna invite us, right, to the wedding?
We'll talk about it.
Well, I mean, if we keep going the way we're going, you might have to do it via Zoom.
We're recording like another podcast.
We might have to do it like this, and then so that'll be
We'll
fun.
just record it into the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be cheaper. You don't have to worry about food for people.
It's true.
True.
We'll have like
Yo, give them ideas, man.
we'll have the background for like the same church all behind us and everything.
Yeah. And a big cross like this.
Hot pocket and the TV account. We gonna eat it together and like finish the meal. Okay, everybody,
Now for the total.
raise your.
And then the after credits finish with like game over.
All right, everybody, let's raise a toast. Even All right, enjoy hot pockets, everybody. It's true.
I don't have to send you a gift.
I just like send them some money via like PayPal.
I don't think you want a microwave oven or anything like that, right?
I have Zelle, I have PayPal, I have Cash App, I have
What's-
Apple Pay.
What's one
I would
gift?
take any donation.
What's one gift that's like really like that's been made what's the term? Like obsolete by coronavirus and the quarantine.
I mean, give the
Gives you a voucher for a free hug. It's like I can't. I don't want it even if I could. I
movie
want
tickets.
Yeah, movie.
Here's this restaurant
Movie
gift.
tickets. Man, I need a bar, man. That's
Well-
what I get.
Well, to finish it up here, well, I think I agree fully with all of you's perspective. I don't think I have really that much to add.
And here's why. Yeah, you're really leading to something.
I agree with everybody, but you're wrong.
Yeah. Anyways, but so yeah, I agree with all of you. But yeah, I think it's it also has to do a lot with making the choice when you also find that person that you think is right, because you also want to find that person that you're able to complement each other in regards to growing in every aspect of life. And for example, you don't want to have a person where you have to be worried about their spiritual life, like you should be able to complement her spiritual life and she should be able to complement your spiritual life, so together can both grow.
Right.
At the same time, you also have to take the lead, but do it in a manner that it's proper, appealing, and that, because just how you're taking the lead in that end, she's also gonna promote that lead that you're taking, properly. And I think mainly when it comes to like having children and things like that. So I see it mostly from that perspective. I really liked Alex's explanation, and I and I actually liked everyone's explanation a lot, but the thing that I really like about Alex, for example, is that you really get to see a full picture all around, at least compared to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And something very unique about Alex is I don't know much about his prior life, but you're able to see someone who has this perspective, and he's really been able to build all of this, which really goes in accordance to also what we believe, just from all the efforts he's really put into it, you know.
In
And
a
he's
very short
committed
amount of
to it. So it just shows how when you have someone with commitment and someone who's willing to take that role, things can actually happen, and they can happen for the good, you know. So that's where I see it. For Wakanda forever.
Is that how we're gonna end this? Is that how we're gonna sign off?
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.
Okay. All of us doing this. That's it.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think we've reached our limit, right?
Yeah.
I don't talk about this. This isn't even my final form. I could do this forever.
I mean, I could go for hours. Like, I could-
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. When we
6
talk
hours.
about Torah, we can go
6 hours.
Well, I'm
We usually
pretty
do. That's the thing.
I'm pretty sure Alex is the married guy. His wife will not agree with that.
Well, she's sleeping. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Oh, then we can go forever, man.
Tito
Yeah,
says
wait, I'm supposed to finish this one.
we
Who
should-
shall ascend to the mountain of the Lord?
And I have to finish. I have to keep going with the other one.
Are you gonna build a bookshelf, dude? And that's
Yeah, no, yeah, I am. I already
keep
have
building,
a
man.
little. I have a little rack
Build.
to put my bookshelf.
it's like crooked.
No, I didn't do it. Okay.
Once I finish the book from Waynefeld, I'm actually reading 2 more because I'm planning to put together like a short teaching. But I need to read 2 more books to actually get the resources I need for it.
That's what I okay. That's what I want to do. I don't know when Jonathan is going to start recording and edit this, but I bought for myself.
Well, how about this? How about we just say goodbye and there we go.
It's so weird to do this like on the first try. Like, how do we end the thing?
How do we end it? Do we just like wave and fade into black? Do I have?
How about just like, hey guys,
We're
this
not
was
doing
fun. We should definitely do this again.
This is the first time we're doing this, and we hope to do more. How
Yeah,
about
exactly.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Thanks for watching / listening, everybody.
that? Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Adios.
I love you.
Salam alaikum.
Wakanda forever.